Shane, Shane, Shane. Shane, 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 Shane. A-L-A-N-Allen. A-L-A-N-Allen. Allen, 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 Allen.
Hey, what's going on? The 38th Parallel NFL Week 12 preview. We got a lot of stuff happening and a lot of news to cover. I mean, just when you think it's going to get a little boring, it doesn't get boring. It continues to be a crazy season. What's going on, Alan?
Just when you get out, they drag you back in. That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
You know what? I have heard that line you just said. I have heard that on every sports talk show, even that I just heard in passing for weeks now, which is you cannot get a read on this season. I mean, we kind of know for the most part who the playoff teams are, but we really don't know what order those teams are going to be in. And then the wild card race is just nuts. But really, you feel like there's not a dime amount of difference between teams 3, 4, and 5 and teams like 16, 17, and 18.
Yeah.
Those teams aren't even any different. They're the same teams. Speaking of whether or not they're the same teams, we're going to kick things off with another segment we like to call Chat. Is this real? Shane, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills dropped another disappointing game Thursday night. They lost to the Houston Texans 23-19. That drops them to 7-4. They're 2.5 games back now on the New England Patriots in the AFC East.
Interesting.
Sean McDermott will be out as head coach of the Buffalo Bills in the near future. Chad, is this real?
I mean, you feel like the potential, or I guess the ceiling with Sean McDermott, they've probably reached it by now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, obviously you had to face Kansas City for who knows how long since he's been the coach there. So they've had to run into that roadblock every single year. In the near future, I feel like they're probably going to give him at least another 2-3 seasons. So I'm going to say no, it's not real, Alan.
Mm-hmm. So I would say, in my mind, near future is he's out in the next couple of years. If he's out in the next 2 years, I would say that's a yes. All right, so let's look at the numbers. He's 156 in win-loss in his 9th season. That's only 23 wins behind Marv Levy for most in Bills history. But this is what do the critics say, right? Lack of playmakers on offense. Coach McDermott's lobbying for defensive roster moves over his tenure, and now this defensive-minded head coach actually has never really put together like a top-tier league-leading defense, and now they also are found wanting on offense. Also, a revolving door at offensive coordinator that's left them with Joe Brady currently as a disaster of a play caller, and yet, head coach Sean McDermott continues to put his faith in Joe Brady, saying that he believes in him.
Okay.
Josh Allen's going to be 30 years old when next season starts.
Jeez.
I think if there's another year of the Bills beating up on mediocre competition, but then having an early playoff exit, I actually do think that might be lights out for Sean McDermott, which is really weird. I'll even throw a little extra wrinkle in here for you. Are you ready for my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory?
Let's go.
I think there's a chance that Sean McDermott, with a pretty solid win-loss record, loses his job in Buffalo. And there's a non-zero chance that someday in the future, Kevin Stefanski, who is the best coach that the Browns have ever had, but the Browns are thinking about cutting him loose, he may wind up in Buffalo. You heard it here first, folks.
Maybe they switch coaches. Sean McDermott go to Cleveland and Stefanski goes to Buffalo. Sounds like a great trade.
The thing is that sometimes you hear that phrase of like you need new scenery, right? Like, look, they're a good coach. Andy Reid, right? Andy Reid is in Philadelphia. Yeah. They say he can't win the big one. Well, obviously he proved that wasn't true after going to Kansas City. Yeah. But you do kind of feel that maybe he needed a change of scenery. So we'll come back to the Bills in a moment. We're going to move on to number 2. Lamar Jackson, Ravens quarterback, is set to play this weekend against the Jets, despite an ankle injury last week, a knee injury the week before, and of course been playing through a hamstring injury that has kept him out for 3 games earlier in the season. Chad, is this real? Lamar Jackson's days as an elite quarterback will be over in the next 3 to 5 years.
I don't think so, because looking at his stats, it just seems like every single season he just gets better and better and better. Now, obviously, with this year, he's been injured, so that's main reason why the Baltimore Ravens have been not good this year. But when you look at from 2022, he had over 2,000 yards passing. 2023, over 3,000 yards, 3,678 yards. 2024, 4,172 yards passing. So, I mean, it was just up and up and up for him. So I think for him, the trajectory is still going to keep going. So my answer is no, this is not real.
So here's the thing is that, and I'm not trying to compare Lamar Jackson to Russell Wilson, but stay with me on this.
You sure?
There was a point in time when Russell Wilson was putting up MVP caliber numbers over the first 5-6 seasons that he was in Seattle. I mean, ridiculous stats. It was kind of, when the Legion of Boom fell off, it was really Russell Wilson playing at a consistently high level that kept Seattle relevant until he no longer was putting up those numbers. And then Pete Carroll also showed himself the door as well.
Right.
But for me, the question is not, can Lamar Jackson continue to play well? I think you're right. Even if you look at this season with his injuries, he's still 7th in QBR, right? He's still like middle of the pack in overall. I think he still had something like 15 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. And that's with him like having missed almost a month of action. That's pretty darn good.
Yes.
For me, the issue is his style of play, can the way that his athleticism and his legs and arm combine, stretching the field and creating the mismatches, and also employing those talents for a Baltimore Ravens team that seems to, maybe dare I say, another person has peaked in the last season or two, and another franchise might be looking for some new blood coming in. I'm not sure that I'm not sure that Lamar Jackson can continue to be that guy in Baltimore for a whole lot more years. Now, he is only 28 years old. He was one of these youngins that came into the league at a very young age. I think he was only barely turned 21. He's a professional quarterback, right?
Yeah.
But he's already got 8 years in the league. I think that by the time he's reaching somewhere in the area of 12, 13 years in the league, I'm not sure that he's that productive. And look at this team today. I guess this is what I'll end with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
If this team right now had a Lamar Jackson that was only performing at 75%, I'm not sure they win a game.
Well, I mean, their defense has been absolutely atrocious. So when you're in constant shootouts, when you're constantly having to put up points because your defense can't stop the other team, it's going to end up not being good for you. So, yeah, they need to improve their defense. And I know you're hinting at it where, hey, John Harbaugh looks, maybe it's time to just completely clean house over there. Lamar Jackson's gone. John Harbaugh's gone. Just the whole team. Just try again. Start over. Hey, maybe Sean McDermott can go to Baltimore. How about that? That sounds pretty good idea.
Well, that's 2 out of 2 teams that we've talked about already, that if the head coach is still there, they definitely need to be clearing house on their coaching staff because the coordinators ain't working out.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to number 3. This weekend's game between the Indianapolis Colts and the Kansas City Chiefs. Ooh. Kansas City is 500. They're 5-5 after 10 weeks. Chad, is this real? This is a must-win game for Kansas City.
Oh man, this is a tough one because I know they're 500, and I know people are already starting to be like, it's over for the Chiefs dynasty. It's over. I don't know. I don't know if this is 100% a must-win game, because if I remember correctly, I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure the rest of their schedule is not extremely difficult, so they still have plenty of games in their schedule to win. So I don't think this is a must win, but I think they should win this game for sure. They definitely need this win if they want to continue, but I don't think it's a must win. So yeah.
I think they definitely need the win. It is true that they have they're at the Chiefs are at the Cowboys on Thanksgiving for whatever that's worth.
There you go.
They're playing the Texans, but the Texans just beat the Bills, a team they couldn't beat.
They've
still got dates with the Chargers and Broncos left. So
Okay.
while they do have some easy games mixed in there, Titans, Raiders, Colts, Texans, Chargers, Broncos is a tough way to go about it. I'll say this. I think that it's absolutely 100% a must-win game. I don't think there's enough wins left on the schedule for them. Because let's look at it from this perspective. Let's look at the wild card race. This team is so far out of first place in the AFC West. I think the Chiefs right now are just hoping to make it as a wild card team, and then hoping that somehow that championship pedigree, that switch gets flipped, and all of a sudden they're on their way to another Super Bowl.
Right.
Let's look at this week. The Texans already won, right? They just beat the Bills. The Ravens are playing the Jets. The Jaguars are playing at Cardinals, and the Chargers are playing the Raiders. So all of those are likely wins for the contender. If the Chiefs lose this game, they're going to be 5-6. So that's sub 500, and they would drop to 10th place in the AFC. Shane, the top 7 get in. There's only 3 wild cards. They would be 10th out of 16 AFC teams if they lose this weekend.
Well, you just changed my mind. Chiefs, you better win this. You better win this game. Destroy those Colts.
Well, finally, on that note, God, what do you have against India? Jesus.
I don't know.
Anyway, finally, to bring all that together before we move on, number 4, Chad, is this real? The era of the 3-headed AFC monster of Bills, Chiefs, Ravens is already over.
Yeah, I don't think it's completely over. It's definitely starting to feel like we're definitely at that falling cliff part, but I don't think it's completely over. I still think Buffalo is a good team, even with a lot of the weaknesses in that team. Josh Allen's still a superstar, obviously, and then with the Chiefs, of course, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So I still give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, with the Ravens, if Lamar Jackson, I can't talk today. If Lamar Jackson can stay healthy, if somewhere, John Harbaugh can pull another feather out of his cap and do something to miraculously make his team really good again, then yeah. So I think Bills and Chiefs for sure. I still feel have maybe another season or two of just contenders. The Ravens, I do feel it's starting to look bad for them.
So here's the thing. The lead actors in those 3 teams, right? Josh Allen, we just talked about him. He's going to be 30 next year, but still in the prime of his life. Same thing for Patrick Mahomes. Same thing for Lamar Jackson. Although, for God's sakes, you could protect Lamar Jackson for 5 seconds.
Please, hold on.
With that said, I mean, heck, Josh Allen just took 8 sacks Thursday night, so protect any of them. But for me, it's not a matter of whether or not those teams still have those guys playing at a high level in their prime. It's that they have so much more competition.
True.
So here's the interesting stat for you. Between 2004 and 2019, the Super Bowl only was played 1 time without a man named Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, or Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah. That's
once.
I know that Super Bowl. I know what Super Bowl that is.
So right now you have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Of course, the funny thing is, if you're wondering, like, well, wait a minute, why is this trio underperforming compared to the giants of the previous generation? Well, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson haven't been to a Super Bowl. So they're going over on that big list of 3, and Patrick Mahomes has been carrying all the weight. But that little factoid aside, those 3 guys are just not going to be able to hold off the rest of the league the way that Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger did. I mean, you look at Denver Broncos, Sean Payton, Bo Nix. Bo Nix, to be totally frank, might be the one holding that team back, and yet look where they are. Drake May in his second year, Mike Vrabel, New England Patriots. They're already contenders. They're already currently sitting in first place in the AFC. It's Vrabel's first year. Yes, exactly. So I think that there's just so much more competition split between different contenders in the league that you're just not going to see 2 or 3 teams completely blank everybody for another decade. I think it. So by that logic, I think it's real. I think the three-headed monster is already dead.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, we're going to move on to this week's the Week 12 Q&A. I'm calling this the all drama edition. It's another week, and it's more drama for the Philadelphia Eagles. This
Always.
time centered around quarterback Jalen Hurts. Lots of reports during the week of complaints on and off the record. A lot of them from wide receiver A.J. Brown, but not all of them. There were some unnamed players complaining in and out of the locker room, of course, about the offense, specifically about quarterback Jalen Hurts and about his handling of zone coverage and throwing into tight windows. Their complaint is that he, quote, cares too much about winning and he's not willing to take risks, and therefore the offense is not able to move the ball. He's too conservative, and his conservative play is leading to poor offensive stats. Shane, are you getting tired of winning? What do you think about the drama with Jalen Hurts?
I mean, look, if you're winning, then the fact that he's being too conservative, or whatever that means in regards to football, if he's being too conservative, he's trying not to make too many mistakes. It's all fine and dandy. Hey, we're winning. We're in the Super Bowl. We're winning. Whatever. But if you're not doing that, then yeah, you probably have some problems with the quarter. But hold on a second. What's the Philadelphia Eagles record again? What's their record?
They are 8-2, currently first place in the NFC.
What are you complaining about?
Yeah.
What are you complaining about? I'm sorry. Like, come on. You're in a weak division. No other team in your division has any chance of getting to you. So come on, man. Look, say what you want about Jalen Hurts. If he's top 10 quarterback, that's a whole other conversation. But look, if you're complaining, oh, I'm not getting the ball, that sounds like typical wide receiver talk, as we'll get to later. So.
All right, so I'm hearing what you're saying. I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a moment, and you tell me what you think. All right,
let's go. Yeah.
So Jalen Hurts' career record, including going back to his rookie season when the Eagles were a losing team, he's 57-29-1 career record. I mean, they are the defending Super Bowl champions. He's a defending Super Bowl MVP. Just throwing out there. So in my mind, I'm hearing what you're saying. It is true. Winning is all that matters. And I think most people would agree with that. However, there is something to be said for winning tends to covers up the warts. The imperfections go away when you're winning. But then if you start losing, then a lot of that is going to come bubbling up to the surface. I feel like you're seeing that despite the fact that they're winning. But let me play devil's advocate by saying this. If there's anywhere where those complaints are valid, it's that we live in a world where contracts are oftentimes structured around performance incentives, right?
Yep.
So look, all of those guys make more money for going to the playoffs, and they certainly do. It certainly does wonders for their career to win the Super Bowl, right? I think it was the other Kelsey brother, Jason Kelsey, the retired center, when asked about all this drama and the complaints that all that Jalen Hurts cares about is wins and losses, his response was, quote, they liked winning the Super Bowl, didn't they? Well, that's a pretty good retort. Yeah. But again, look, these receivers, these backs, these tight ends, these guys are going to make their bucks, especially if you're not a top level guy. If you're not the kind of if you're not a guy as good as like a Dak Prescott, who's going to get paid $260 million for showing up to work, then you got to hit those performance incentives. Not only do you need to hit those benchmarks to make more money, but that also is going to determine your future in the league, right? Like, look, what if this team decides to deal you or cuts you in the offseason, and teams around the league are saying, well, just glancing at the stat sheet, he didn't really have a good year. Well, I'm sorry, I was having to catch passes from Jalen Hurts, and he was too busy, doing a tush push for 1.5 yards and then clocking the ball. Yeah. It's not my fault. So look, I'm not saying that I'm siding with the drama queens. All I'm saying is that where the complaints are justified is the fact that Jalen Hurts, to be totally frank, isn't playing as well as he could be. Yeah. I mean, look, they just won the Super Bowl. He was the Super Bowl MVP. Jalen Hurts knows well enough that he is not performing to his own standards. And it's unfortunate that instead of getting support around the locker room saying, hey, we'll get him next week, just keep grinding, we're going to do better, unfortunately he's getting attacked. I think the issue is that there definitely seems to be an underlining culture issue in that locker room. I don't think that it's all AJ Brown. Look, I'm not in the locker room. I don't know. My hunch is that it's not all AJ Brown. But if it were mostly AJ Brown, they should have dealt him.
Yeah.
They should have got rid of him. They could have traded him. And then, you know what? Based on his performance so far this year, that I know is tied to Jalen Hurts, but he's not even the number one receiver on his own team. That's Cavante Davis. So all I'm saying is they could have traded AJ Brown. They could have looked a little bit more inward on culture, and then there wouldn't be so much drama. But then again, even second guessing myself before moving on, if you're 8-2 and you're leading the NFC, why would you make changes?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. I don't know.
But for
moving on to even more drama, we talked about AJ Brown. Let's talk about a whole bunch. This is the week of the wide receiver. Look, hey, we're going to get to you later.
Oh, I know.
49ers.
Yeah.
We're going to get to you later.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to start with CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Keon Coleman. First, you had CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, the number 1 and number 2 wide receivers for the Dallas Cowboys, were benched for their first series on Monday Night Football against the Las Vegas Raiders. Sure, it didn't make any difference to the outcome of the game, but by the way, they did go 3 and out on that drive where they didn't have wide receivers 1 and 2. Imagine that. And there was no announcement at game time that they would not be starting or what the reason was. During the week, CeeDee Lamb says that the reason is that they missed curfew because they were out in Vegas having dinner and having drinks. And then one of the coaches for the Cowboys says that George Pickens missed the bus. And that's why they were benched for the first series. Notice they didn't bench him for the game. They benched him for a series. As opposed to a player that's been benched now for back-to-back games is wide receiver Keon Coleman of the Buffalo Bills. Boy, I bet they wish they had someone else that could help stretch the field. Oh, I don't know. Maybe this past Thursday night against the number 1 defense in the NFL. A rather embarrassing, definitely on the offensive side of the ball effort in a 23-19 game. Josh Allen throws a couple of picks. He gets sacked 8 times. There's just nowhere for him to go with the ball. Boy, I wonder why. Let me ask you this, Shane.
Yeah.
Do you think that it's right for teams to bench players like, for instance, the Cowboys and the Bills, particularly the Bills, and benching Keon Coleman? Do you think that's the right move for the team to bench a player like that because of some kind of drama behind the scenes?
Hey, you got to show him who's boss. You got to say, hey, this is my team. This isn't Keon Coleman's team. If you're going to do what you're going to do and not be a part of the team, then yeah, you're going to have to get punished for it. If that's sitting out for the game, sitting out for a couple series or whatever, we're going to relegate how you're going to play this game because you're not listening to us and following the rules. Then yeah, I think so. I'm all in on, kind of going with like the Jalen Hurts drama for a little bit. Where's Nick Sirianni in all this? Does he have any say in what's going on? I mean, he's the head coach. He should be doing something, talking to the players. What's going on? Do I need to come in? Where's Sean McDermott? How is he handling all of this over there in Dallas? Like, how are they gonna handle all this stuff too? So I am all in on coaches laying down the law. Hey, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be out for it. Now, it is kind of funny that they wouldn't. If they're the number 1 receiver on the team, they're not going to completely sit him for the whole game because, hey, we need you, even though we're going to punish you, quote unquote, punish you for a series. So, I'm okay with it. That's my final answer, Regis.
All right. I'm going to admit I do, for the most part, agree with your take. I do think that discipline is incredibly important. We just got done talking about an Eagles team where there's some kind of issue with the culture in the locker room. Yeah. And frankly, considering the Eagles' record against the rest of the NFC, that poses a greater threat to them.
Right.
They're going to be destroyed from within. They're not even going to be destroyed from the outside.
Yes.
With that said, and particularly looking at the situation with Keon Coleman and the Buffalo Bills, at the end of the day, it's like all of a sudden it's like, damn, I didn't realize that collective punishment was still allowed after the Geneva Convention. The Buffalo Bills team is being punished because Keon Coleman is benched. So that's where I would look at this once again from a devil's advocate perspective is if not having Keon Coleman on the field Thursday night potentially weighed heavily in their losing a game that was, I think that we just talked last week about being a very important game for them to go out and win. To lose that game in Houston, which puts Houston is back on life support for a wild card, whereas Buffalo is now far on the outside looking in terms of winning the AFC East.
Yes.
They may be out. It may be the Patriots division now, and in no small reason because of that loss. So I think that if you're in a situation, I guess you just have to figure out other ways to deal with it. Now, keep in mind, Keon Coleman was benched last week, and they won the game against the Bucs, and they benched him again this week. So whatever is going on is obviously serious enough that the organization decided we're gonna stay firm on this, and we're gonna keep him on the sideline. Well, now it's cost him a game.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the Buffalo Bills lose another game, and it's in particular because of the passing game. Not being able to protect Josh Allen not being able to get the ball downfield, and no one downfield being able to create mismatches in the defense. If another situation like this happens, and all of a sudden the Bills go from, dang, I don't think we can win the division, to, dang, we need to win a couple of games or we're going to be with the Chiefs. Could you imagine the Bills and the Chiefs? Boy, there is a non-zero chance. Let me just end this with this point. There's a non-zero chance that three-headed monster we talked about misses the playoffs entirely. The Chiefs are in a serious risk. The Ravens need to get ahead of the Steelers or they're at risk. And the Bills are only in it right now by like a game and a half. If those teams all lose more than they win to close the season, all three of those teams out of the playoffs. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
But now,
yeah,
to get to another fantastic boy, let me think. When I think NFL teams and wide receiver rooms that are a complete dumpster fire. Oh, it's the San Francisco 49ers. Brandon Aiyuk, who, God, when was the last time Brandon Aiyuk played? Was on the field.
It was last season against the Cardinals, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
My understanding is that Brandon Aiyuk is still on the PUP list, and he's eligible to return from it at any time, but he has not been medically cleared yet by the 49ers organization.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, it came out this week, a report saying that Brandon Aiyuk has had his salary guarantees voided. What does that come out to be? Something like $27 million in guarantees on his contract were voided, leading, of course, people to speculate about his status, both as a player and as his future with the San Francisco 49ers. Shane, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they just sign that guy to a big contract because they wanted to keep him in San Francisco? What's going on?
Yeah, they did. So let me read a couple things here. So I'm going to go ahead and read off some other people's tweets here. So this is from Diana Rossini and Mike Silver were the ones that broke this story. Now, Diana Rossini tweets, breaking 15 months after signing a 4-year, $120 million extension. $120 million over 4 years. Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers appear headed toward a divorce. And it does look like they voided his future guarantees in 2026, I believe it was. And it also sounded like he didn't fight that. It's like, hey, we're gonna do this. He's like, okay, whatever. Now, Kyle Shanahan was asked about his future, Brandon Aiyuk's future, not Kyle's, because as if you've heard me a few times on the show, I said,
that's another conversation. Yeah.
Okay, Kyle said, now let me know what you think about this. He said,
right.
Quote, what happened in July doesn't have anything to do with the future. It had to do with circumstances that were out of a coach's hands. I'd love for BA to be here and being a part of this team. Now, not 100% of what he's talking about in July. It could be he's talking about the contract. Now, another thing that I saw, and since I'm kind of more into this, I see it more about the 49ers stuff where again, we were talking about coaches being disciplinarians. He was wearing different colored shorts and he was making this big hoopla. You got to wear these color shorts, not whatever you're wearing. And Kyle and Brandon were getting into it a little bit. And then he finally took them off. But Brandon, I was making this kind of big show about it, that if he had just taken them off and didn't make a big scene out of it, nobody would have talked about it. But in 49ers world, oh my God, I can't believe, because some people were even saying this isn't even a big story, is that he was wearing different color shorts. But that was just kind of the catalyst of, oh, there must be something bigger going on. Because if you remember, Alan, during the whole contract talks and Brandon Aiyuk wants this extension and all that, he was doing these cryptic posts on Instagram and Twitter and all this weird stuff going on. And it just seems like the relationship has just completely soured. And it doesn't seem there's any reconciliation. I mean, the fact that he was signed to a 4-year, $120 million extension, which is what he wanted. He wanted the contract extension, but apparently it wasn't enough. And to put the cherry on top here, as I end this, a video came out recently, yesterday actually, when this news came out, of him at some jewelry store getting some bling bling and getting all hyped up and basically being a rich man and paying for this expensive jewelry and all that. And he even in that video said, "Hey, Jaden Daniels of the Washington Redskins, hey, look what I got you. I got you this nice watch. What do you think?" His good friend Jaden Daniels over in Washington. So it's over. I would be shocked if Brandon Aiyuk is still on this team next season.
Here, listen to this. Here's a funny little factoid for you. Aiyuk signed his 4-year, $120 million extension. That was August of 2024.
Yes.
Throughout that process, the 49ers had agreed to trades that would have sent Aiyuk to the Browns, the Patriots, and the Steelers. Boy, I bet he wished he played for the Patriots now. Jesus.
Yeah.
In each case, Aiyuk vetoed the trade because he wanted to stay in San Francisco. If Aiyuk doesn't play again for the 49ers, he will have been paid $48 million to appear in 7 games where he had 25 receptions for 374 yards and no touchdowns.
Man, what a payday.
Oof. Yeah. And finally, and finally, on that note, I've got a quick question for you, Shane.
Yeah.
Pop quiz. What does Shedeur Sanders hope to avoid having in common with Dylan Gabriel, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Baker Mayfield, Kevin Hogan, Deshaun Kaiser, Cody Kessler, Connor Shaw, Johnny Manziel, Thad Lewis, Brandon Whedon, Colt McCoy, Brady Quinn, Derek Anderson, Charlie Fry, Luke McCown, Spurgeon Wynn, and Tim Couch?
Be a Cleveland Browns starting quarterback?
Close. He's trying to avoid becoming the 18th straight Browns quarterback to lose their first start. Holy cow. What a list of fellas.
Oh my gosh.
I gotta say, Shane, how excited are you to see the first official start for Shedeur Sanders?
He didn't look good when he was in.
No.
He did not look good. So I mean,
do you want that stat line? Are you ready for this?
Let's hear it. Yeah.
By the way, he's the worst closer in football history. He came into a game that the Browns were winning 16-10. They lose the game 23-16. Shedeur Sanders goes 4 of 16 for 47 yards, 1 interception, 2 sacks. He had a QBR in that game of 2.4. Let me make sure you heard me right. Not 24, which is still really bad. No, 2.4 was his QBR
oh my gosh,
in that game.
That is terrible. Look, good luck to you. I know we make fun of you over here. I know other people make fun of you or whatever, but look, good luck to you. I hope you can somehow break that Cleveland Browns curse. But as of right now, it's not looking like it's going to happen because you did not look good in that game. And I mean, he doesn't really have anything to lose. I mean, the Cleveland Browns are pretty much out of the playoff picture, so you might as well just do whatever you can to try and help win the team. Be the opposite of Jalen Daniels. Take risks. Be aggressive. Throw downfield if you can. Just throw the open receiver. Go on. Who cares? Don't be conservative. That's not your style. Come on.
Well, they're playing the Raiders, so
perfect.
We're about to find out. All right, Shane, we got to pick up the speed on this. We're going to move on to the lightning round. This is the lightning round, the medically cleared edition. We're starting with number 1. Shane, if medically cleared, Should Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow start the rest of the season?
Yes.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say as long as the Bengals are mathematically alive in the playoffs, he should be starting. If they do get eliminated, get him out of there. You don't want to miss any more time next year.
Yeah.
We're going to move on to number 2. Okay, ditto, same question. If medically cleared, should Redskins quarterback Jaden Daniels play the rest of the season?
Yes, he's your new young quarterback. Yes, play him.
Now, okay, so I'm gonna stay with a very similar answer, which is if the Redskins are mathematically eliminated, you might as well just let Mariota play the rest of the year. However, for anyone who saw his arm going the other way, I just have to say he better be 100%. If he's not 100%, don't put him in the lineup. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Boy, ditto once again. Same question, Shane. If medically cleared, should Giants quarterback Jackson Dart, coming out of the concussion protocol, should he start the rest of the season?
Yes, same answer with Jaden Daniels. He's your young quarterback. He needs to play. Look, Jameis Winston's fun to watch, but yes, Jackson Dart needs to play.
Jackson Dart being a rookie and the fact that it's a concussion protocol situation, yeah, I do think that he needs to play the rest of the year. If anything, this is not only giving him reps, but it's also giving him an opportunity to learn from the coaches that you got to slide, young man.
Yeah.
You got to slide. Quit
Purdy.
taking those hits. All right, I'm going to end the lightning round with one that's a little bit different.
Okay.
But what about the curious case of Texans quarterback CJ Stroud? He also is not been cleared from the concussion protocol yet. It was Davis Mills that started that game against the Buffalo Bills. However, to be clear about this situation, it was CJ Stroud that was drafted to take the job of quarterback from Davis Mills.
Oh, that's funny.
For the Houston Texans. Davis Mills comes back in, but listen, it's not like the Texans were tearing up the AFC before. If you don't count the Broncos game, we're going to take the Broncos game out because that's the game where it was a close game, 18-15. CJ Stroud started, got hurt, Mills played the rest of the game. We're going to throw that game out. Not counting that game, the Texans were they were 3-4 before the Broncos game. And now, since the Broncos game, the Texans are 3-0 with Davis Mills.
Well,
so just saying. I'm just saying.
Well, look, as opposed to Jaden Daniels and Jackson Dart, CJ Stroud is not your young quarterback. And
no,
I feel, look, if Davis Mills is going to play, just like when we had talked about the Niners quarterback controversy, you play with the hot hand. Davis Mills is your hot hand. You keep him in there.
The Texans' next 2 games are at Colts and at Chiefs. I don't expect that they win at least not both of those games, and maybe neither of those games. Yeah. With that said, if they do, and the Texans are solidly in the wild card, the Texans are going to have a very interesting question of, if Davis Mills got us the wild card, do we put CJ Stroud back in for the playoffs, or do we just let the hot hand ride? Yep. I don't know. It's a tough question. I'm going to say, fuck it. Hot hand. Roll with Davis Mills until he loses the job. Until he loses the job. How about that? All right, we're going to finish the show with this week's picks. Shane, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going on the road to play the Chicago Bears. The Bears are 2.5-point favorites. Shane, the Bears lead the NFC North now. Every single week we've been saying, this can't possibly continue. Shane, the Bears lead the NFC North. What do you think about this game?
The Bears have a negative 6-point differential, and they're 7-3. It's mind-boggling what's happening.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Negative 6-point differential, and yet are leading the NFC North on a 3-game win streak. They're 7-3. They're a half game up on Green Bay. On the other side of the field, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who did win a very important game this past week against the Bengals. The week before, they dropped an ugly one to the Chargers. The Steelers have to keep winning, or they're going to get caught by the Ravens.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm actually going to go with the Bears. I'm going to say the Bears win this game. They've
Yeah, yeah.
proved me a liar so many weeks. This will be the week I've
Yep,
jinxed
just-
you. You're
I was just
done,
thinking about
Chicago.
that, yeah.
You're out of here.
I
All
was
right.
literally just thinking about that, yeah.
Next game, the must-win game for KC. Indianapolis Colts on the road at Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are actually 3.5-point favorites
See, there you go.
in that game, despite being 5-5. Yeah, right. 5-5 and hosting the 8-2 Colts. What do you think?
Said it before. I'll keep saying it. They'll get the local blah blah. So yeah, I even though I said that it's not a must-win game, then you changed my mind. They better win this game. That's all I'm going to say. The Chiefs better win this game because if they don't, it's going to be it's going to be tough.
I'm going to say with the 3.5 points, I'll take the Colts. The Colts have not looked as strong recently as they looked earlier in the season. However, every single week, people keep on waiting for the real Chiefs to wake up. This is the real Chiefs. They're kind of a mediocre team. And you know what? Patrick Mahomes isn't played perfect either.
Yeah, he hasn't.
So look, this is the real Chiefs. Oh boy, the pillow fight of the week. The Cleveland Browns in Shedeur Sanders' first start going on the road to play the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are 4-point favorites in that game. What do you think?
Oh my God. Look, the 4-point favorite. Oh my God. Shedeur Sanders better smoke the Raiders. 4-point favorites. Do they not know who I am? I'm the son of Deion Sanders. I'm going to go in there and I'm going to destroy the. If he doesn't, oh man, this is like if they had lost to the Jets. Oh, yeah, it's over. I don't even know who's going to watch this game. Who's going to watch it?
It's interesting because everyone's going to be watching for Shedeur Sanders, but the real question is the other side of the ball. It's going to be the interception leading disaster 31st out of 32 total offense Raiders against the Browns defense. Myles Garrett might sack Geno Smith 20 times this game. It might actually happen. Geno Smith might throw 6 interceptions. And you know what? That all might happen and them still win because the Browns can't score any points.
Myles Garrett is the most frustrated player in the league right now.
We could be in for like a 3-3 tie. We'll have to wait and see. Moving on. Here you go.
Hey.
Our very own preseason pick.
Oh, right.
The Philadelphia Eagles, number 1 in the NFC, 8-2, are going on the road to play them boys, the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are actually only 3.5-point underdogs in this game because of all the guys that the Cowboys have gotten back, particularly on defense. What do you think? You think the Cowboys have a chance?
I mean, it's a divisional game. I feel like the Cowboys are probably going to go in there and they're going to rough things up. They're going to tar them birds. Ooh. They're going to get in there. They're going to grill some feathers. Let's go, Cowboys. Come on. Make my division prediction go. Let's go. Come on. They still got this, right? Right?
And finally, last game of the Cowboys are going to lose. And finally, we have the Atlanta Falcons, NFC South matchup. The Atlanta Falcons are going on the road with Kirk Cousins at quarterback to play the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints, how about this for the Saints? They're only 2-8, but they're on a 1-game win streak thanks to last week's game. They're 2-8, but they're actually the favorites in this game. Their last game actually was 2 weeks ago. They had a 10-point win over the Carolina Panthers, which are also the only other team in the division that is currently on a win streak as well, ironically enough. This is a 2-8 team that's a 2.5-point favorite. That is very rare. What do you think? You think the Saints can do it?
Well, I think Captain Kirk's going to go in there and going to show them Saints how old men do it. Can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you know what? He don't need new tricks. Kirk Cousins is going to light him up. 500 yards. Let's go.
I'm actually going to go with the Saints. You're witnessing me pick a 2-8 team.
Man,
the spread. 2-8 team against the spread. I'm doing it. Yeah. I'm picking them.
Feel dirty.
Shane, do you have a final thought?
Yeah, I kind of hinted at earlier. Okay, so first off, Myles Garrett on the Cleveland. Can he go to a winning team? My God, I can't. All this, he's playing his heart out, and he's. Oh God, I don't feel bad for him. He's a freaking, he's rich and all that, so whatever. But geez, come on, Myles Garrett, go somewhere else. Like, I don't know, go to the Raiders. Oh wait, they're not doing well. Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to make my final thought an answer to your final thought. I have no sympathy for Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett had an opportunity to get out of Cleveland, but you know what? All he cared about was making just a little bit more money. He cared about that more than winning games or putting up good numbers. He signed an extension in March of this year. That's 4 years, $160 million, 123.5 guaranteed. That keeps him in Cleveland through 2030, which for a defensive end is basically the rest of his career. He did that to himself. He could have gone somewhere else this year. He chose not to. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
You know what?
Enjoy your money. Enjoy it.
You changed my mind again. Screw Myles Garrett. Hope you continue to lose in Cleveland. And that's how we're going to end the show. Bye, Myles. Shedeur Sanders is your